Your mind was never meant to be this loud. Not the constant inner arguments, not the endless rehearsal of conversations that never happen, not the pressure you feel before anything has even begun. You call it stress. The world calls it ambition. But the samurai had a different word for it. They called it a fractured spirit. In ancient Japan, a warrior was not handed a sword on his first day. He was handed silence, because a noisy mind hesitates. A noisy mind imagines defeat before the enemy arrives. A noisy mind collapses long before the body is struck. The samurai understood something modern neuroscience now confirms. The brain suffers more from imagined threats than from real ones. Most fear is not born in danger. It is born in anticipation. Look at your own life. You wake up already tired. Your body is safe, but your mind is at war. Notifications pull you apart. Opinions invade you. You react faster than you choose. Presence fades, and with it, your sense of strength. The noise convinces you that peace is something you must escape toward, instead of something you stand inside. But there was an ancient system built for this exact problem. A discipline not meant to suppress thought, but to train attention. Not to fight fear, but to remove its fuel. The samurai did not conquer the mind by silencing it. They conquered it by becoming so present that noise had nowhere left to hide. This is not a story about blades or blood. It is a parable about ego, fear, and the moment a warrior realizes that the loudest enemy was never outside him and never needed to be fought at all. If this path stirs something quiet inside you, remain and walk it with us. The noise before the storm. He was already a warrior long before he understood what that word demanded of him. His stance was correct, his blade clean, his body disciplined by repetition and ritual. Yet inside, something fractured quietly. The mind never rested. It rehearsed losses that had not happened. It argued with shadows. It imagined judgment in empty air. At night, while the village slept, his thoughts remained awake, circling like animals trapped behind a locked drawer they could not open. Fear wore a clever mask. It called itself preparation. Ego nodded in agreement and tightened its grip. Modern science would later name this loop hypervigilance, prediction error, a nervous system addicted to threat. The samurai named it something simpler, a storm before impact. No one spoke of it openly, not in the training yard. Not in the burned ledgers of old battles, but every warrior felt it, and everyone paid a price for pretending they did not. Something was approaching him, slowly, silently, and it was not an enemy he could see. By dawn, the noise followed him into motion. Each strike landed, yet something lagged behind. A fraction of a breath, a hesitation no one else noticed, but he did. His body obeyed training, but his spirit argued with it. Between movements, thoughts slipped in like red thread through cracked wood. What if I fail? What if I freeze? What if the next fight is the one that exposes me? The ego fed on these questions, mistaking control for survival, tightening until even silence felt dangerous. In the village, people admired him. Strength has a way of disguising fracture, but beneath the armor, his presence thinned. He reacted faster than he chose. He lived one step ahead of reality, nowhere near the moment itself. Neuroscience would later confirm it. Attention pulled into the future fractures perception in the present. But here, it was learned the hard way. A warrior who cannot command his own mind is already wounded. And storms, he would soon learn, always test the weak point first. Transition. The noise had revealed itself, but silence had not yet answered. Meeting the keeper of silence. He did not arrive like a teacher. No announcement, no lineage, no armor to signal authority. The old man was already there one morning, seated beneath a cedar that had split down the middle years ago and never fallen. His robe was plain, his posture effortless, his eyes unmoving. The warrior felt watched without being examined. which unsettled him more than scrutiny ever had. They stood together in silence. Too long. Long enough for irritation to surface. Long enough for the warrior's mind to search for instruction and find none. The old man did not correct his stance, did not comment on his blade. He only observed, as if listening to something beneath the warrior's breath. Silence thickened, not empty, exposing. The warrior realized then his discomfort was not caused by the man, but by what the quiet revealed. Every urge to move, to speak, to control. The mentor finally met his gaze and said nothing. That was the first lesson. Days passed before a word was spoken. Each morning the old man appeared in the same place. Each morning the warrior returned, unsure why. Nothing was taught in the way he understood teaching. No drills, no doctrine, only observation. The silence began to feel like a cracked mirror, reflecting impatience, pride, and a fear of being seen without armor. The warrior noticed his breath shorten, his jaw tighten, the body prepared for conflict where none existed. Modern psychology would later call this the threat response misfiring in safe environments. The samurai knew it as ego guarding an illusion of control. When the old man finally spoke, it was barely above a breath. "You move before you arrive." No explanation followed, no correction offered. The sentence lingered like red thread tied around the mind, impossible to ignore. The warrior wanted clarity. Rules, something to master. But the mentor withheld it, not out of cruelty, but precision. Silence, he was learning, was not absence. It was a mirror, and the reflection had only just begun to take shape. Transition. The warrior had met silence, but had not yet learned how to stand inside it. The discipline of standing still. Training began without ceremony. No blade was drawn, no stance corrected. The old mentor simply pointed to the ground beside the cedar and stepped back. The instruction was unspoken, yet unmistakable. Stand. The warrior planted his feet, straightened his spine, and waited for more. None came. Minutes stretched, then longer. Breath grew shallow, then erratic. Thoughts rose like a crowd denied entry. Memories, unfinished battles, imagined failures pounding at the gate. The mind rebelled violently when control slipped away. What felt like discipline at first became discomfort, then dread. The body wanted motion. The ego demanded relevance. But the mentor remained still, forcing the warrior to face a truth no enemy had ever revealed. The noise was not outside him. It was generated by the fear of losing command. Neuroscience would later confirm it. Attention resists stillness because stillness dissolves illusion. Here, the samurai learned it by standing. Days turned into weeks. The ritual did not change. Stand, breathe, observe. The warrior began to notice patterns in the chaos. Thoughts arrived in predictable waves, tied together like red thread pulled from a locked drawer he had never opened. When he chased them, they multiplied. When he resisted, they tightened. But when he simply watched, without judgment, without interference, something unexpected occurred. The noise thinned, not disappeared, softened, as if deprived of fuel. Modern psychology names this attentional extinction. The mind releases what it no longer receives energy from. The samurai named it discipline, not force, not suppression. Endurance within stillness. The warrior felt moments of clarity between breaths. Fleeting, fragile, but real. His body relaxed into gravity. His presence returned, inch by inch. Reaction slowed, choice emerged. The mentor said nothing. He did not need to. The lesson was happening beneath language. Mastery, the warrior began to understand, does not arrive with movement. It arrives when movement is no longer necessary. Transition. Stillness had revealed the noise, but fear had not yet lost its voice. Fear loses its voice Fear did not vanish. It changed its posture. Where it once rushed forward, shouting warnings and rehearsing disasters, it now lingered at the edges of awareness, visible, but no longer commanding. The warrior noticed it first in his breath. It no longer climbed into his chest uninvited. His shoulders softened, his grip loosened. The body stopped bracing for an impact that never came. One morning, the mentor finally spoke without being asked. "Fear feeds on time you have not reached." The words landed slowly, not as instruction, but as exposure. The warrior saw it then. Fear did not live in the moment. It lived in imagined futures, stitched together like burned ledgers of battles that never happened. Neuroscience would later confirm this. The brain's threat system activates most strongly in uncertainty, not danger. Presence starves it. For the first time, fear felt smaller than him, and silence, once empty, began to feel armed. With awareness came choice. The warrior no longer flinched at every thought. He watched them rise, crest, and fall, like waves breaking against stone. Fear still appeared, but without narrative, without authority. It was sensation now, not prophecy. Energy waiting for direction. The mentor named it at last. Ego had been using fear to maintain control, mistaking vigilance for strength. Modern psychology mirrors the lesson. Emotion loses intensity when met with direct attention instead of avoidance. The samurai learned this without charts or studies, only breath and presence. The warrior's movements grew economical. His eyes softened. He arrived fully before acting. Silence was no longer absence. It was readiness. Something in the village shifted. Others noticed it. Not confidence, clarity. A stillness that unsettled those who relied on noise to feel alive. The warrior did not announce his change. He carried it. Fear, once loud, now spoke only when needed. And even then, it whispered. Transition. With fear quieted, the warrior was ready to return to the world he once fled. The return of the warrior. He did not return as he had left. There was no hunger for conflict in his step, no tightening in the jaw as the road narrowed and the air grew sharp with rumor. The village had changed while he was gone. Voices were louder. Fear moved openly now, passed hand to hand like a burned ledger no one wanted to read but everyone kept. A dispute had hardened into threat. Men sharpened weapons not because they were needed, but because noise demanded action. The warrior entered this tension without feeding it. In the training yard, his presence alone shifted the air. He moved slowly, not from hesitation, but certainty. Each motion arrived whole. No anticipation, no rehearsal. Neuroscience would call it full sensory integration, action arising from the present moment, not prediction. The samurai called it being here. For the first time, silence traveled with him, and it unsettled everyone who still relied on noise to feel strong. When conflict finally arrived, it came without ceremony. No declarations, no warning cry, just sudden movement, sharp and unplanned. The warrior responded once, and only once. No excess, no echo of rage. The encounter ended before spectators understood it had begun. Strength revealed itself not through domination, but precision. Those watching felt something fracture quietly inside themselves. They had expected fury. They saw restraint. They had prepared for chaos. They met presence. The warrior's breath remained steady. His gaze did not chase victory. He had already arrived. The mind that once ran ahead of reality now moved inside it. The mentor did not appear again. No farewell. No final instruction. True teachers leave systems behind, not dependency. Silence had been transmitted, not explained. The warrior understood then. Mastery was never about removing fear, but relocating authority. Ego had stepped aside. Presence had taken command. He stood unmoved, not because the world was calm, but because he was. Transition. The warrior had returned to the world. But the path was not finished with him. Walking the path without sound. The story does not end with the warrior. It widens. What he discovered was never meant to stay in history, sealed inside burned ledgers or whispered through rare laws of forgotten clans. The path was always internal, always present. The same noise that once hunted him now follows you, into rooms where nothing is wrong, into moments that should be simple. The same red thread winds through your days, anticipation, judgment, the quiet fear of falling behind. The samurai path reveals something unsettling. Silence is not retreat. It is engagement without distortion. Presence is not passive. It is the most disciplined stance a mind can take. Modern science confirms it. Attention reshapes perception. Perception reshapes reality. Ego loosens not through force, but through repeated return. The warrior did not escape the world. He learned how to meet it, again and again. This is where the path becomes demanding. Not dramatic, not heroic. Quiet, repetitive, often unnoticed. The warrior learned that mastery does not announce itself. It settles into ordinary moments. Standing in line, hearing an insult, feeling the surge of impulse before reaction. Silence becomes a daily discipline, not an escape from noise, but a way of refusing to be ruled by it. Presence sharpens. Distraction loses its authority. Ego, once loud and protective, loosens its grip when it realizes it is no longer needed to survive. The ancient system reveals its final truth here. The mind will always offer noise, always test you. Mastery is choosing, again and again, not to follow it. Neuroscience agrees. The brain rewires through repetition, not revelation. So does the samurai path. The warrior walks on, no longer seeking stillness, because he carries it. And if you listen closely, you may notice something unsettling. The silence you've been avoiding has been waiting for you this entire time.